well, to be fair, I did have a conversation with him. I said to him, like, what's going on with the Masjid Al-Aqsa thing, and there's a few things with that one. There's a bit of ta'wil that you can make, in the fact that is he trying to desecrate it or not. His answer to me was completely different, and he did allow me, by the way, to share it, so I can read it out. I don't know if I should. He gave me an answer that was completely different to the answer that he subsequently made. He made an answer, he subsequently made it. And he said, look, I said, do you give me permission to be public? Because even with him, I believe in Majasul Amana. Even with the enemy of Islam, I don't, if I have conversations with people, it's confidential. I don't share emails or stuff like that, even with the enemy, because if we don't have that, then people won't engage with us. It's as simple as that. It's very dangerous for someone like me to share. But this one, because he allowed me to, I can read it out to you if you want.
Go ahead.
I can
if he gave you permission. Yeah.
If he gave me permission to read this one out, so I'm gonna find it and get it.
Sure.
But I asked him about this, like the Aqsa thing. I said, what's going on and blah blah blah. And I was at that time still giving him, a lot of concession, because at the end of the day, one second, we still try and get these guys to become Muslim. One second, let me try and find.
Yeah, the thing about Peterson and others who, I think that's exactly right. The line that you're drawing is that they are now into the territory of battling against Islam, battling against Muslims, and violating, just sitting with Netanyahu. That should be, a red line, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he did that once again after I spoke to him. But let me find you.
Yeah, this is all, we're talking about your stance, now that all of this has come out. Of course, your previous conversations, it was before he sits with Netanyahu. He goes to Masjid
I found what he said. Yeah. Now he actually gave me permission to read this out. Now the reason why I'm reading this out is, number one, he gave me permission to publicize this. Number two, because subsequently he made a message. He put a message forward, which is completely different to this. The tone was different, and everything was different. He goes. He calls it on storming in quote marks Al-Aqsa. That's what he says. Yeah, he goes, on Tuesday, the 11th of October, I journeyed with a Daily Wire Plus film crew, including Ben Shapiro, to Temple Mount or Haram al-Sharif Al-Aqsa Mosque. The entire project had been cleared with the requisite authorities, so there was simply no storming of the site. Quite the contrary, and there was nothing at all particularly political about our activities. We traveled there as part of the completion of an upcoming documentary about Jerusalem, which is in turn part of a planned series on the sources of Western civilization. When we arrived, a rabbi who has been agitating for the right of the Jews to pray on that site, something currently forbidden by the very authorities who arranged our right to walk and film there, made his presence known nearby. He was not part of our group and was not given permission to undertake his activities under our auspices. Nor was his activity part of any authorized, nor was his activity part of what was authorized by those who granted us permission to be there, to walk and to film. None of the people with me engaged in any activities that were outside the purview of what had been formally granted permission. All the claims that my compatriots and the Daily Wire film crew and I were violating the rules that obtain on the Al-Aqsa site are patently false, based upon misunderstanding of what occurred, and unnecessarily troublesome and adversarial because of that. Suspicion is not the same as reality, and we could all do with a bit less unwarranted suspicion and the claim of combative moral virtue that often accompanies such a claim. J.B. Peterson. What do you think of this?
That sounds exactly like what he said publicly.
No, there was something different. Remember what he said publicly was, he said something like tyranny. He referred something about tyranny, the tyrannical rules or something. The reason
of the masjid.
Yeah, and what he's referring to there, by the way, he was referring to basically they've got some. I think it's the Jordan government, the Jordanian government, and Masjid al-Aqsa have a rule. If some tourists want to come to Masjid al-Aqsa, that there's a particular time for non-Muslims to come. They can come and see the Masjid al-Aqsa in that time. Otherwise, if you go to Masjid al-Aqsa and you're not a Muslim, you're not allowed to go inside, because they realized through in the past, in the last 20, 30, 40 years, that you had like these settler Zionist guys coming in and creating problems. So, and so what they do now is they check if you're Muslim or not before you go into the masjid. So what I think he's trying to say here is, he's saying that he came at a time where it was okay for the non-Muslims to be there. Now this is what he's saying here, but in the message that he put out, he started referring to it as tyrannical and these kind of things. There's a stark difference, I think, in respect. However, if that's tyrannical, then let's talk about Gaza, and let's talk about the West Bank, and let's talk about the settlements, and let's talk about the apartheid regime. Is that not tyrannical? Because to date, and I can
even the idea that these authorities that are dictating who can and come into Masjid al-Aqsa, like that in itself is the problem, and he's kind of ignoring that elephant in the room and saying, "Oh, we got permission from the authorities." Well, these authorities are not legitimate. Like, that's the response that we would give. So don't be so naive, deliberately naive, that you don't understand like the implications, the political implications, the religious implications of this is our third holiest site, and you are just traipsing in there with one of the biggest Islamophobes, enemies of Islam, just walking in on permission of an authority. Okay, which the Zionist authority, the pro-Zionist authority, like that makes it legitimate. So
and Ben Shapiro in the past has actually he was on the newspapers, the Israeli newspaper, I think Haaretz being one of them. He was on there because he trespassed one time, and he went in and started doing his Jewish prayer in Masjid al-Aqsa. Now, the legitimacy of that, I haven't fact checked it, but at least there is some discussion about him being controversial in that respect. So you go in with him, considering that background, and considering the fact that, from what I remember, the Intifada, the second Intifada, was ignited when Ariel Sharon went into Masjid al-Aqsa. That's when it started. So it was a symbolic figure, or a symbolic move that triggered an entire Intifada. And for those who don't know what that is, it's basically like an uprising or a revolt that the Palestinians had, which led to many, many deaths on both sides, but mostly on the Palestinian side, as usually is the case. It was one of probably the biggest revolts, or if you're going to call it rebellion or whatever you want to call it, of the time period. And it was led on the back of Ariel Sharon going and do it. So these are the kinds of facts that people should be aware of. Now, unfortunately, it seems like Jordan Peterson's not listening to advice, man. And obviously, he's doing what he wants to do. So people are doing what they want to do with him. They're attacking him, and they're showing him that they're not interested in watching his stuff. Many people have said, we've unsubscribed. And, that's really painful for someone like Jordan Peterson, I think is. I think
it's on the verge of tears.
He spent his whole life accumulating an audience of multinational people, international, cosmopolitan, and now the Daily Wire are ruining it all for him. They're destroying his reputation. I would say to him, look, no matter what the deal is, the reputational damage that you're getting from these guys is too much.
Yeah,
it's too much. And I would still say to Jordan Peterson, the offer is still open for him to repent for his sins, to leave off the Daily Wire, to leave off these guys, Ben Shapiro and these guys. You don't need them in your life. And do what Andrew Tate done. Become Muslim, and you'll see a real supportive system. People that just not use you, in a Machiavellian sense, for their own objectives, and to your own detriment. That's not a good partnership. It's not a good deal. It's a very bad deal. Very bad deal.
Yeah. And I think I gave you this advice as well, and I think you agree that we shouldn't let someone like Peterson take advantage of a prominent, world-renowned Muslim figure, da'iyah, such as yourself, and try to gain clout, because I think it's actually he is more dependent on you than you could ever be of him, because he doesn't have that foot into the Muslim audience unless he maintains a good relationship with someone such as yourself. So I think you can actually exert pressure on him and give him, tough love, so to speak, and say, look, this is unacceptable, and we don't tolerate this. You're violating our holy spaces, and this is, you need to shape up or ship out. How can I continue to, or how can I not denounce you in strong ways, which you have done. You have, given him strong words since that interview came out and since the Masjid al-Aqsa event happened. So inshallah, I think that you are in a good, strong position, inshallah, to influence these types of public intellectuals in favor of Muslim interests and, Islam in general.
Inshallah. And, as I say, we try and negotiate on behalf of community to try and get something from, because one of the objectives that we had for a very long time here in the UK is to get to one of those ru'us, or one of those a'imma of the kufr, actually, of the disbelief, which are the pro-Zionists like Ben Shapiro and Netanyahu, or whoever it may be. Now, I know it might be sounding like we're aiming for the stars, but wallahi, I don't think it's too ridiculous for us to do a Zoom call with Netanyahu where he can put his things on the table. Why not?
Debate of the century.
It'll be fantastic. It'll be great. It's better than look how many views he got. He got 700,000 views with Benjamin Netanyahu, and that, which is 1/3 of the amount he got with me in either of the two discussions, because I got 3 million with him each time. Now, I'm saying this only because I know this is data for him, And number two, when he engaged with a Muslim, either me, even with Hamza Yusuf, both times he got over 90% approval ratings. This guy got from 85% disapproval, negative comments. So even from a dunya perspective, even from a worldly perspective, it doesn't advantage him. If I was a multi-millionaire, billionaire, I don't know what his net worth is, Jordan Peterson, but I would not take even 1 billion pounds from somebody or from an organization or from whoever it is at the expense of me being called, I'm under someone, I'm being controlled of someone, and these things that people are saying. I would not accept this. It's a reputational damage that is too much. It's too much.
For people like this, sometimes there's more than just reputation. Like, they want the access to the halls of power. They want to be able to enter and rub shoulders with the ru'asa, as you said, of the kuffar, some of these satanic elites, and some people have suggested that maybe Jordan Peterson is being blackmailed. Maybe there's some kind of satanic ritual that he was a part of, and this is being used to control him. Not Netanyahu.
What
Peterson.
can Netanyahu offer him? What can you offer him? What can he? This is the question you have to ask yourself when you're negotiating. What can this guys offer me? What can the Daily Wire actually offer me? Yeah, what can they offer me? Money?
Well, if they have
friendship, all these things. Like, to be quite honest with you, there's no better
pictures
friendship.
and video.
Yeah,
pictures and video, then that's blackmail.
Yeah. He cannot offer you. Wallahi, he cannot offer much. I think what we offer as Muslims to Jordan Peterson likes Islam, quality of life. Your depression is alleviated. You have meaning. He wrote a book called Maps of Meaning. You have the biggest community of people that will be always for you, loyal with you, that you can be with them. The people would die for you. People would die for you if you become a Muslim. Now, people don't realize this about Muslim people, but Muslim people will die for other Muslim people. If you see them getting hurt, or if a woman was being attacked or something, we would put our lives on the line for this people. This kind of loyalty, this kind of camaraderie, this kind of fraternity, you cannot and you will not get it from whatever superficial relationship is being had elsewhere. So I'm saying that I can't offer any money, and I wouldn't. But I'm offering something more important. And for someone like Jordan Peterson, where his legacy really matters, for himself, it really matters, because he's going to die soon, just like we all are. He's 60 years old. How long do human beings live? He's got another 20 years, 30 years. And in that time, you want to consider leaving behind a legacy, you see, which is going to be, people are going to be citing you from all around the world. These guys are blocking you from being able to do that. I would say that you should go out against him, in fact, and join us, actually.